Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Magicbricks.com's Green Webinar 2013, our endeavor to empower consumers with the benefits of investing in a green home. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our capabilities in building a greener tomorrow. With this principle in mind, we are initiating a green webinar conducted by industry experts to give you all an insight on the green and sustainability domain. The topic of today's session is Benefits of Investing in a Green Home. Our guest speaker today is Mili Majumdar, Director Sustainable of Habitat Division, TERI. Mili Majumdar is the Director Sustainable Habitat Division at TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute, New Delhi. She has over 19 years of experience in the field of energy and environment, with special emphasis on sustainable habitats and urban development. She has experience on several aspects of sustainable habitats ranging from policy analysis and development, providing technical assistance in designing and implementing green buildings, enabling energy efficiency retrofits in existing buildings, evaluating financial visibility of green building projects, and working on macro issues related to climate change and urban development. She has led a team to conceptualize and develop a system for rating the green buildings in India. The rating system, GRIHA, addresses environmental and social concerns of building construction in India and provides a framework for development of habitats and buildings. She has steered development of a master's level course on green building for Ministry of Urban Development. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mili.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to share our experiences on green homes and benefits of investing in green homes. With over 2 decades of experience in this sector, TERI has been instrumental in designing and implementing several green projects around the country, not only by providing design advisory service, but also through implementing the GRIHA rating program, which is recognized as a national rating system for green buildings in India. So basically, in the presentation, what I will like to do is to explain what is a green building, and then talk about a bit on how a common person, you and me, can introduce green features within our own lifestyle. And then I would want to explain a few aspects of that are essentially myths around green buildings, which means that we always think that green buildings are more expensive, and through different studies we have been able to evaluate what are the costs and benefits of green buildings, and I'll share some experiences based on our studies. So basically, a green building is a building that minimizes depletion of natural resources. It minimizes pollution. It, of course, has very minimal energy consumption, which means that the demand for energy in a green building will be substantially lower than a conventional building, and it would also tend to use maximum renewable energy sources to meet its demand, which means usage of solar and other forms of renewable energy. A green building also uses a lot of efficient building materials and construction practices, so that our embodied energy content in a building comes down, and there is certainly an effort towards efficient waste and water management. And a green building is more productive. There is enough research to show that in a green building, we are able to provide much better levels of comfort and hygienic indoor environment, and hence they provide a more productive ambience for people to work and live in. A green building, of course, has minimum impact on site and surroundings. And when we construct a green building, we ensure that there is enough erosion control, stormwater management, pollution control, tree protection, and heat island control. Each of this measure has an impact on environment. For example, as soon as we excavate a site for constructing a building, the water that is an outflow, during rainy season or otherwise, it takes away the soil and it clogs the stormwater drainage system that surrounds that particular piece of land where we are constructing. In a green building practice, what we tend to do is to ensure that my surroundings are not affected, which means that I would build sedimentation control systems and other systems to ensure that whatever spillage is happening from my site is taken care of and it doesn't cause environmental degradation around my site. In a green building practice, whenever a site is assigned for a particular construction, we have to ensure that there is maximum protection of trees, and which means that the architect, the contractor, all of them have a large role to play to ensure that as much of mature trees that are there on site are integrated with the design, and during the construction process they are protected. The other impact which all constructions have is the heat island impact. Ladies and gentlemen, as we drive through a very, very highly urbanized zone, we are often faced with a temperature shock, which means that in a greener area, whenever we are driving through or walking through, we feel much cooler because, of course, the greenery around us is a great moderator of temperature, and microclimate temperature in greener areas is much lower. What happens is, in an urban scenario, the concrete or other hard surfaces, they absorb the heat during the daytime, and during the night time they will try to re-radiate it back to the atmosphere, as a result of which the microclimate temperature goes up, which is impact which all our cities are facing, and it is very crucial that through green building measures we take care of the heat island impact, and I will talk more about it in my upcoming slides. The other impact of a building is on the water resources, which is very, very vital to us. And we also have seen that when we construct greener buildings, we are able to save water through use of better fixtures, better management practices, rainwater harvesting, water treatment on site, recycling and reuse. We are able to save by 30 to 40% of this vital resource. And typically speaking, if a design is done well in an energy efficient way, and if we are able to deploy appropriate solar passive measures, which means architectural measures that are conducive to particular climate zone where we are constructing, then, and if we are able to use efficient building systems, we can cut down our energy consumption in comparison to a conventional building by up to 50%. And this 50% balance energy can be met through usage of renewable energy systems. So in the current policy dialogues and in the current dialogue around greener buildings, many of you would have come across the term of net zero or net positive buildings, which means these are buildings that not only save energy through different measures, through energy saving measures, but also whatever energy is required by this efficient building, that gets generated on site, and the building is not reliant on the grid electricity to power itself. So benefits of green building are quite a lot, and another very crucial aspect which is particularly important to India is the issue about solid waste management. All our cities, particularly if you look at cities like Bangalore and several other upcoming cities, there is a huge problem of solid waste that gets dumped indiscriminately around the city, thereby not only taking up a lot of space but also leading to several other health issues. And untreated solid waste are huge urban problems. So if solid waste, particularly the organic solid waste, can be treated on site, then that is another major benefit of a green building. So a green building calls for, and when it is under operation, efficient waste segregation, suitable storage and disposal at building level, resource recovery from waste. And as I mentioned earlier, in a green building, we tend to use more recycled, reusable product. For example, usage of fly ash, blast furnace slag in building construction, for say replacement of cement in concrete by fly ash, or use of fly ash blocks and bricks that can not only help us in reusing waste products but also adds to lesser embodied energy content in a building. So if you really see in a building, there are certain items, for example, aluminium, steel, plastics, copper, which have very high embodied energy content, and we should try and use minimally these materials which have high embodied energy content, and tend to use more low energy materials. And as I mentioned earlier, green buildings of course provide a healthier and more productive environment. Now coming into a bit more details on how and what you and I can do as a common person, let me dwell a little bit more on the energy efficiency aspect of a building. When we are looking at, because energy is becoming more and more expensive by the day, and unless we are able to tap the energy efficiency aspects right from the design stage, we cannot address the maximum benefit through green building design interventions. So when we look at energy efficiency incorporation, basically at the design stage we look at the site and surroundings, incorporation of energy efficient architectural features, use of better building materials that help you to reduce the heat gain, looking at daylight integration, which means that if you are able to use daylight for maximum time of the day, you can save on electricity consumption in lighting. Then on the system side, you look at use of better products, both in lighting as well as in cooling system, for example, ceiling fans, air conditioners, low energy cooling system. And then you also look at finally renewable energy integration through solar and other devices. Broadly classifying energy efficiency interventions, let me share a few of the design interventions that you and I can use. First thing is to look at sustainable site planning, then incorporation of passive features, optimization of building envelope, and daylight integration and natural ventilation. Coming to sustainable site practice, as I mentioned earlier, it is very important to protect the trees, not only that because of the fact that trees act as a great sequestration device, but also trees provide much required shade of the building, which has a natural cooling effect, as well as it has a large impact on creating cooler microclimate, which is very important for a hot climate like India. The other thing which is very important, as I mentioned, is use of sedimentation systems to ensure that your site pollutants do not pollute the site and surroundings around your particular project. The next thing which is very crucial is usage, protection and reusage of topsoil. As we all know that the first few inches of soil which is able to support vegetation is very fertile. So during a normal construction process, we tend to excavate everything and throw it out. However, it is very important to store it separately and reuse it back for landscaping purposes, which saves on valuable water requirement when you are putting in the landscape, as well as usage of chemical fertilizers. The next important thing which we must take into account is limiting the construction footprint, not indiscriminately spoiling the entire site and strewing construction all over. And also importantly, take adequate steps to mitigate urban heat island impact, which means lesser usage of paving around your site, usage of shaded pavements, or usage of high albedo reflective surfaces. Coming to what you and I can do to reduce our electricity bills, particularly these few slides are applicable mostly to hot climate like ours, where through an appropriate building design, we must try and minimize heat that enters the building, optimize heat that is being generated through the different devices that operate in a building, which means the internal loads, use efficient appliances, as well as use adequate daylight and avoid artificial lighting. Now, obviously, you will ask that what are the impacts, like why is it essential for us to consider all these things, and which will help us to reduce our electricity bills. Often we don't realize that when we switch on the appliances such as computers, artificial light, in addition to consuming electricity, they also generate heat. A computer or a light as a source, in addition to performing its function, will generate heat that adds to the heat load of a particular space. For example, 12 computers will need about 1 ton of air conditioning to remove the heat they generate. In a small room, if you have 12 computers that are operating at the same point in time, in addition to whatever air conditioning you are putting, you will need 1 ton of extra air conditioning to remove only the heat that these computers generate. Similarly, suppose in a room you have 35 tube lights, the normal tube lights, and you keep them on unnecessarily even during daytime when you can use daylight. These 35 tube lights, the heat that they will generate, you will need additional half ton of AC to remove the heat. So these are often some of the things that we tend to ignore, and we must keep them in mind if we are trying to save energy. Similarly, human beings are also big producers of heat, and the more people you have in a room, the more heat that you need to remove. So all of these adds to your air conditioning load and your electricity bills. So obviously the next question would be, how do you minimize the heat that comes into a particular building? There are a few common tips which everybody can follow. One thing is that you need to protect your roof, windows and walls from the heat gain, and the simplest thing that one can do is to shade them appropriately and use appropriate building materials. and use appropriate insulation products in places from where the heat will come in. So 3 things you have to keep in mind here, that how you use effective roof insulation, what kind of shading systems you provide in windows, what kind of glass you use in windows, and what kind of insulation and material that you use for walls, because these are the 3 key components through which the heat will come inside a particular building. The other important thing is orientation of a particular building, in which many of us do not have much control. However, if you have a control on deciding on which orientation that your rooms should face, ideal orientation is north and south, which means that you should have minimum exposure to east and west, because this is from where your maximum intensity of solar radiation will come in. From south also you get a lot of radiation, but you can protect your south facades by very minimal shading protection. So this is an important aspect of green design to orient your building well. Then of course, what kind of materials that you use. In the next slide, you will see that there is a picture of a green roof, which obviously by seeing this only you can make out that it provides a cooling effect. And there are some experiments that we have done, and I'll show you in the slides, that how things like a cool roof or a green roof can help to reduce the heat ingress in your building and reduce your energy consumption. This is a very commonly used material if you see in older structures, where you use inverted earthen pots, and the philosophy or rather the physics on which these work is that these pots will entrap air within them, and air acts as an insulator for the roof. It will create that kind of a space and protect the roof from being exposed to the direct radiation, and thus moderate the indoor temperature. There is another commonly used technique that one can normally use, and this is particularly applicable for households that have exposed roof. As we know that the roof is maximum, the heat comes in from the roof, and you can use broken tiles, broken china mosaic to cover the roof. The lighter the color, the better. If you are able to do a china mosaic using a white color, then it is the best possible option. We have recently done certain experiments to see impact of cool roofs, and we have found that up to 35-degree reduction in surface temperature is possible if you are using high albedo paint or cool roof on your rooftop, and up to 20% of power saving in air-conditioned spaces can be accrued by using cool roof, and this is particularly applicable to the top floor spaces in any house. This is the next slide, which I show you, shows some experimental results in our own facility in Bangalore, where you will see that from the graphs that by use of a cool roof paint vis-a-vis a normal paint, on the surface temperature of, that is the top surface of the roof, the temperature difference was up to 35 degrees centigrade in the month of April. And on the inner side, that is inside the space under deck, there was a consistent 3-degree difference in temperature that was observed throughout the day. And another thing which was phenomenally important was that there was a constant under deck temperature throughout the day, which means that the temperature does not fluctuate with the day. Similarly, we have seen that, the green roof, like if some people cannot have a cool roof, you can have a roof garden. The green roof also has a similar kind of an impact and has a great moderating effect on a particular space. So these are some of the common things that one can easily deploy in a house. The other thing which we tend to ignore is the usage of appropriate kind of glass. And often we do hear, particularly from buildings that are designed to be fully glazed, we hear this argument that if we use a good glass, a high-performance double glass, then I am taken care of. But if you see this diagram, that a glass, however good it is, it can never compete in terms of its performance with a good walling system, an opaque, good insulated walling system. Just to give you a comparison, the best of high performance glass which you would be getting in the market today, a double glass unit with high performance property, the thermal conductivity valued across, from one side to the other, it will be in the range of say 1.7 watt per square meter degree Kelvin, whereas a normal 10-inch brick wall would have a thermal conductivity value of about 2, which means that even a non-insulated wall has a better performance, or rather, a marginally lower performance than the best of glass. And if you are using an insulated wall system, these two can come down to about 1/5 of this value, which means that the more glass we use, we tend to bring in more and more heat into the space and more air conditioning. And if you really see our energy code of India, the maximum limit of glass that has been specified is to the extent of 40% of the wall area. And our experience shows that we can manage the daylight factor that is required for our kind of climate with up to 20% glazed area. So glass is something which should be used extremely judiciously if we want to get maximum advantage. And the other thing you must keep in mind, that more and more high performance glass you use, the more expensive the building will become. A good high performance glass will cost you about 8 to 10 times more than a single clear glass. So as I mentioned earlier, that control of window area is very crucial, and you should be able to optimize based on your orientation the amount of glass that you use in a particular facade. And to reiterate once again, our the Energy Conservation Building Code of India for a commercial building recommends an upper limit of 40%, though 60% is allowed, of glass area, that is window to wall area ratio. And our experience says that you can manage very well with 20% of glazed area, provided you have the other green design features in terms of optimum depth of spaces, etc., taken care of. The next slide shows you how heat comes in through a glass, and through this I'll be able to explain you why it is very important to use good glass and to use lesser amount of glass. What happens is that when heat is incident on a piece of glass, it gets conducted inside that a particular space through conduction gains, as well as, since glass is a transparent material, there's a significant amount of direct solar radiation that comes into a particular space, which means that a glass has two ways through which heat comes in. One is because of conduction gains and the other is because of direct radiation. Hence, there are two very critical properties of glass that one looks into. One is the solar heat gain coefficient of a glass and the other is the conductance or the thermal conductivity. And in our climate, the solar heat gain coefficient is more crucial than the conduction aspect. So, however, you must also keep in mind that a glass with very good solar heat gain coefficient, which becomes darker, and hence the daylight that comes in through such glasses reduces. So there has to be a balance between daylight and the solar heat gain coefficient of a glass, and these you do get glass which have good properties in market. However, their costs go up phenomenally as soon as you try to balance these two factors. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is very important to choose the right amount and right specification of glass if you want to design an efficient building. And I would generally recommend that the best way to protect the glass from the direct radiation coming in is through use of good shading system. We all do recognize the fact that use of umbrellas, caps, or sunglasses help us to keep cool. And if we try to equate ourselves with buildings, even buildings will be kept cooler if they are shaded and protected. So use of shading device through trees, through other shading elements are cheaper options to keep the buildings cool. And if you cannot do that, then by all means go and choose a better and a more expensive form of glass. However, traditionally you will see that many buildings in India have been designed with traditional shading systems such as jalis, which we see. This not only shade a particular building but also allows natural ventilation, which is again very important for our kind of climate. Now coming quickly to the other aspects, it's very important to optimize efficiently the lighting design of a particular building if you have to save energy through efficient design controls, and then meet demand to renewable energy sources. And this should be done both for indoor as well as outdoor lighting. Very commonly used efficient lights, we know all of us, are compact fluorescent lamps, light emitting diodes, and several other sources. However, I would want to mention one crucial factor here, that we often tend to think that CFLs are the best and most energy efficient sources of light, followed by, or preceded by LEDs. There is a common practice of replacing even our tube lights with compact fluorescent lamps, which should not be done. If you really compare the output of a lamp in comparison to the energy that it takes, you will find that, T5 or for that matter linear fluorescent lamps are one of the most efficient sources that are available in the market. So indiscriminate use of replacement of CFL, of T5 or other tube lights by CFL and other sources which in common man's parlance we understand to be efficient should be avoided, and they should be judiciously done after reviewing for what purpose we are trying to replace that particular lamp source. There are other means of doing better lighting design and having the best with minimum amount of energy consumption. One is certainly to look at what kind of height that you are positioning your fixtures, looking at the maintenance factor, looking at controls so that you are able to switch off lights based on daylight availability, based on occupancy. All of these help us to save vital energy. Outdoor lighting certainly should be chosen based on different kinds of luminous efficacy, and there are in the market different kinds of lamp sources that are available that allow us to design outdoor lights with maximum efficacy, and we can use better controls. Finally, it is important to use efficient space conditioning system, which means that the air conditioners that we choose, the size that we choose for which we are designing a space, it should be done efficiently, and these are a few tips that we should design only for acceptable thermal comfort levels, not for an overcooled space. There is a tendency of designing spaces for very, very low temperatures. For example, in a common design process, we find spaces being designed for 22 degrees centigrade, which is very energy inefficient. In our kind of climate, we should try and design spaces to be 25 degree and above, and that will save us a lot of energy. And in spaces that are not air conditioned, we can use other means to cool it through different passive means. And even in the air conditioning market, we get a lot of low energy consuming space conditioning systems, and these should be used as much as possible. Just a few of them. We are all aware of BEE star rated appliances, and we find star rating appliances between 1 to 5 star rating that are available in the market. And the better the number of stars, of course we know, the better is the performance. And what we find is that you can easily go with up to a 3-star rating. Between a 3 to 5 star rating air conditioning system, there is a marginal price difference. However, if you are able to afford a 3-star rated air conditioner, then you will be able to reap back the marginal cost difference between 1-star and 3-star within a few months' time only. However, I would advise that you go for a 5-star rated AC if you want to reap maximum benefit, and it will have a little longer payback. However, you will get the payback within, say, a maximum of 2 to 2.5 years of time. And there are other efficient ACs available in the market as well in the large category if you are going with centralized systems. And I'm not getting into the detail because of lack of time. And renewable energy system, the slide is coming up, is the final thing which you should look at. And solar water heating system and photovoltaic are certainly things that are cost, that helps you to offset your conventional energy. Hot water systems are a mandate in several parts of the country, and they certainly provide a lot of benefit in terms of reducing our consumption level and giving us reasonably, good return on investment. I will come to a case study on a financial feasibility assessment of different residential green buildings that we have done. We took 4 cases and we studied that what are the different kinds of energy saving options that can be put in a multi-storied, multi-family residential building. And if you see the 4 cases, you will find that they vary in some parameter or the other. Now if you see the first building, which is building 1, it has a rated concrete block, which is an insulating building block. Instead of a normal wall, it has a roof insulation with 125 mm expanded polystyrene. It has a reflective glass. It has a high albedo paint on roof. It has solar water heating system, and the developer here provided 5-star window units for all apartments. In the other buildings I'm not reading, but these ECNs, or the energy conservation measures, marginally vary. And we calculated that in comparison to a conventional building, how much energy they will be able to save. So on an average, you will see that with varying levels of energy conservation measures, the energy saving ranges from 22 to up to 42%, which can easily be accrued. Now obviously the question would be that what is the incremental cost? So we did analysis of all these 4 buildings, and then what we found is that in the building which had 22% cost savings or energy savings in comparison to the conventional, the incremental cost was only to the extent of 0.75%. Maximum 42% was accrued, and here the incremental cost was to the extent of 4.5%, and here the maximum incremental cost was because of the fact that the developer was providing 5-star ACs, which are, as I said, expensive in comparison to 3-star ACs. However, if you see that the energy saving was to the extent of 42%. So it is, if you see really the payback period, maximum, even if in some places, as in case 1, the incremental cost was to the extent of 4.5%, the payback period was maximum of 2 years. So it really does make a good investment, provided you do it in the right way. And there are a lot of myths around green building which we need to address effectively. Now I will conclude with some slides on water. And here we did, a payback period calculation for this particular set of projects, and you will find that it's a win-win. Like maximum, if it is a 2-year kind of a payback period, then it's hardly anything in comparison to the life of the building. The other important thing which is very important is the issue of water. And for conserving water in a cost-effective manner, we again need to follow the same approach as we did for energy. That is, firstly, reduce the demand, and then use efficient appliances, and then finally use recycled water and rainwater harvesting. And there are different ways and means of doing that. We could do one more session on water saving measures, but broadly speaking, we can use efficient faucets in kitchen, in laboratory. We can use dual plumbing systems. We can use dual flushing systems, which help us to save water. For landscape, we can go with drip irrigation, as well as use of native species which take up much lesser quantity of water. Rainwater harvesting, particularly storage, can be easily done for rooftop rainwater, and which is clean source of water. We have to particularly exercise caution when we try to recharge water into the ground, and there is a very, very common practice of recharging back directly into the aquifer without proper filtration. And my earnest request to all developers is that please do not do that. Mother Earth cannot take polluted water. So by recharging rainwater, rainwater without appropriate filtration will do more harm to the environment than doing any good. And all of these, what I said, can be facilitated through the Griha rating system which TERI has come up with and is accepted as the national rating system for green buildings in India, which is called Green Rating for Integrated Habitat Assessment. And you can get a lot of details about the rating on our website, which is grihaindia.org. It's basically a rating system that rates the building on a set of 34 criteria and covers all or many of the aspects that I explained in my earlier slides. And please feel free to get back to us for more details. Thank you for your participation, and I shall now take the questions.
Thank you for the insightful PowerPoint presentation.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's quickly take up the questions now. Please read out the questions and their answers so that all our users may listen to the commentable insights.
Okay. Just a moment. Okay. The first question is by Rishabh Jain. I'm going to build a house for myself in a couple of months. Could you please enlighten me on the procedure to install solar products? Do these products have government subsidy? Firstly, Rishabh, yes, you can install solar products very easily. I would recommend that you visit this website of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, which is mnre.nic.in. And there you will also find a list of their approved manufacturers. Depending on which city you are in, you can contact the manufacturers. And also each state has a renewable energy development agency. So you can contact them locally to find more about from where you can source them. In terms of subsidies, there are different levels of subsidies that are available. Again, the details of all subsidies are there on the website, and also each state has its own set of subsidies for different renewable energy products. And depending again where you are in, the subsidies will kick in. The next question again, I think this I have answered. Please let me know the measures that I need to implement to build a greenhouse. Again, to reiterate, you should use best design, good materials, and many of the things which you can use I have explained in my presentation in terms of good daylighting, good glass, insulation on roof, plantation around the building, and use certainly of efficient equipment and renewable energy systems. So all of this will help you to save energy. What is the difference between buildings which is platinum, gold, silver certified, and is there a cost difference among three? She has already left, so I'm not answering this. Do green homes improve quality of life and health? Yes, they do. For example, if there is enough daylight in a home, that certainly improves your productivity. Green homes provide better air quality, better quality of noise, and sort of all of these have an impact on the quality of life. Also, green homes ensure that quality of water is as per requirements, as per IS codes, and hence that also has an impact on your health. Left. Do I need to answer other question, because the persons who had asked, they have left. That is as per my panel. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, she should. It will be. Hello? Mili, are you there? Mili?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, Mohini.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello?
Just a second. Yeah, Mohini. Hello. Just a second. Hello. Hello. Are you there? Mohini, are you getting my voice? Hello. Hello.
Hello?
Mohini,
Yeah.
getting the voice?
Yeah, I'm getting your voice.
Just a second.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Yes, Mohini?
Yeah, Mili.
Yes, I think it got disconnected in between.
Oh.
I didn't realize, and now there doesn't seem to be anybody.
No, there are attendees online, so you can answer the questions.
I have answered all the questions, for the people who were attending.
No, there
For
are
them,
some new questions that are...
No, they have left already. The ones who have left, I have not answered.
No, some more questions have come up which I've assigned them.
That
I've assigned the questions to you.
I can't see. ये बड़ा क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? I can't see. It says please start only after this session. Okay, which one did you send?
I sent the ones which must have appeared in the end.
How viable are... Okay. Okay, fine, yes. This one? Okay. How viable are aerated concrete bricks in India? Are these actually green materials? Any mention about this in our National Building Code? The National Building Code is now adding a new chapter on approach to sustainability, and there is a mention of that in the code. Aerated concrete blocks have good insulation properties, and they are pretty viable in India. Have you heard of adobe homes? If yes, what do you think about them and their suitability for North Indian climate and topography? Yes, smart constructions do have a good thermal property. However, workmanship is not available and they cannot be replicated for mass constructions. And it also has to be ensured that good quality topsoil is not being used for construction, because that is a fertile source and we should not be depleting our topsoil, which is an unsustainable practice. As a common man, I know how to go about building a home green. Don't know how to start about the green home from the scratch. You have to get access to information, and nowadays through the internet as well as through other resources you can get information, and you also have architects who are capable of helping you to design green homes, and you can obviously get in touch with organizations such as Adarsh and TERI for helping you with the process of going about a green home. What is the minimum land in square foot you require to think of a green home? There is no such limitation. I mean, even if you are in an apartment building, it can go green, provided you have taken care of the measures that have to be incorporated. It is not correct that a green home requires a lot of space. I have answered, I think, now all the questions. Hello?
Thank you so much for answering all the questions, Mili.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Those were the only questions we had.
Hello? Yes, welcome.
Those were the only questions. Those were the only questions we had for this session. Thank you so much for answering them.
Thank you.
I'm really thankful to you for conducting this webinar. I would also like to thank all our participants for attending this session and making this a huge success. The recording of this session would be available on magicbricks.com by tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.